The tech bros are trying to take away your humanity, but you're not a machine. Let's talk about what it means to live like a human in this high-tech world. This is Analogish, and I'm your host, Becky Mollenkamp. I'm so excited today to be joined by Lindsay Hyatt, who is a brand strategist, writer, and business mentor, exploring what it means to be human in a hyper-digital world, which is exactly what this show is about. So that's really perfect. Hi, Lindsay. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Becky. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. Anything else that you want people to know about what you do and maybe why it's relevant to what we're talking about today around being human?
Yeah, well, I have spent my entire life online. I mean, for real, I am an elder millennial who grew up with all of the emerging technology and social media. And then I built a career that very heavily involves being online and promoting a brand and your business. So I have lived and breathed this world for a long time. And I'm in a moment now, personally, where I am examining what it looks like to not do that. And it's like a whole new world for me that I'm currently exploring.
Yeah. And what brought you to that place? Because obviously, like you said, you had, I think it said something like a 20-year career that really involved largely being online for the bulk of those decades. And now you're at this place in the last few years of feeling the weight of that and wanting to challenge and push back on some of that. What got you to that place of feeling like it's time to push back on these things?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a combination of a few things. One, I feel like, and I spend a lot of my time on social media specifically. I have my favorite platforms, but I was starting to find that both personally and for business, these platforms were not the same platforms I enjoyed even 5 years ago, or that made me feel connected to a community or able to promote my business and actually get through to the right people. And I was starting to notice that though my time online seemed to be increasing in many ways, I wasn't getting much back from it. And I was starting to notice how it was making me feel, which was not great. And so it was kind of shocking to me to have to confront my worldview about being online and what does it mean in 2026. And I do think it's a different beast than what we grew up with and what it, even was, like I mentioned, just a couple years ago. So I actually, one day, I think I was on a walk, which is where I kind of clear my head. And I heard I would call it a voice without being weird and like woo or like creepy. A voice was like, you got to get offline. And I'm like, what? Oh, I don't want to. I don't want to because I'm addicted to it. And I started to kind of revisit that voice and that question and think what would it look like and what might it feel like to get offline? And would that make me feel better? Because, the world has also changed and it's a lot heavier of a place. And I'm somebody who likes to know what's going on at all times in the news and all of those things. And I just was starting to realize this isn't serving me. All of my routines and even just daily habits that I had that were so built around being online are not serving me now. So it was kind of an awakening for me, for sure.
You said that social media used to feel different, even just a few years ago, and feel different in a way that felt better. What was different then? And what is it that changed, do you think, that made it feel more toxic?
I think I can take it back to even 2010. It was new. And I remember being on there and there were two things that I loved about it. I was not living in my hometown at the time. I was living in Michigan. I'm from Buffalo, New York. And I felt that it kept me connected to what was going on in Buffalo. So I really made a lot of friends, Buffalo friends, and was able to talk with them. And it really did, Twitter in those days really did feel like a community. And it didn't feel as toxic and it felt just more like fun, honestly. And from something like that to even I remember we would live tweet our favorite shows and the actors on the shows would tweet with you. And it was just such an experience where you felt like this is a separate community from my real life. And I love it. And then, fast forward to the pandemic years. And that is when I launched my business as well. We were a captive audience and we were hungry for connection because many of us weren't going anywhere. Most of us weren't going anywhere for a long period of time. So it really did give that feeling of you're not alone and there's, things you can do online. You can learn things, you can build things, you can make money, you can do all kinds of unlimited things online. And I would say that's when it peaked. I feel like everything since then, maybe 2022 and onward, have kind of gone downhill to the point where people are burnt out, people are tired, people are looking for analog experiences and more connection with people, not through a screen. And so I've definitely been feeling that same way and kind of mourning what used to be as well.
Yeah, connection was sort of the promise of social media. And I felt the same way, that it delivered for a long time in creating a new type of connection, but still feeling very connected. And for me, in the same way it sounds like for you, Twitter led to many IRL friendships that still endure for me more than a decade or 15 years later. And that feels different or harder now. Threads is interesting because it has a similar vibe to the old school Twitter, which is probably why you also like it, and it's where we
Love
connected.
it.
And but the connection piece does feel like it has gone away a bit. And I wonder how much of that is because of capitalism and the monetization of all of these things. Not to mention all of us then being trained to use these tools specifically for our business. So everyone's sort of showing up, promoting, selling, and it doesn't feel like that doesn't feel relational. And one of the things you mentioned in the intake form that I give for people as they're coming into this was that you've been leaning into more reciprocal relationships. Does that feel different? And I think a lot of those are in real life, reciprocal relationships, but maybe also online. Is that part of what felt like it began to be missing for you? Was that idea of some reciprocity?
Yeah. And like you mentioned, I really noticed that in what I just refer to as the online business space too, because though my business didn't start out as an online business or even set out to be one, that's kind of because of the times how it ended up being. There was that kind of early community and camaraderie during the pandemic. But then I started to notice and feel like there was a lot of people talking at you, a lot of people selling things, but there wasn't a lot of give back. And even not just the people in the accounts online, but I was noticing a big piece for me has been noticing, where am I putting my energy and how is it giving back or not giving back to me? And even in like the things I love to do, like my own podcast or my newsletter. And these were all kind of components of building that online brand. And over time, I started to get less replies to my newsletter. I started to get, not necessarily less views or listens on my podcast, but just less. It was kind of like talking into the void. And I started to feel like I am giving so much of myself to being this persona online and doing these little internet tasks, I started to call them. And what is it giving me back? I mean, I hadn't had like a lead for my business that I knew of any time in the last year or so from any of these platforms. So it's like, it made me really step back and think like, what are we doing here? And why are we still calling this community when the reciprocity is missing?
Yeah. I think anyone who's listening who runs a business, and this show isn't necessarily just about business, it's about being a human, right? And all the ways that we show up. But for those who have businesses, and probably even those who have witnessed online business, whether they're part of that or not, have seen that feeling of like, you feel like everyone is just screaming into the void.
Yes.
But then what's that?
In many different ways.
Right. And then exactly, there's also the political parts of that too, and just the world we live in and the polarization, and you have people yelling. It feels like everyone's screaming to the void and everyone is just overwhelmed by all of it. I think you're right. Like the pandemic was sort of, to me, the pinnacle of the online rush to online. It feels like the gold rush of the online movement sort of happened around then. And now everybody is coming the other side of that, just feeling depleted. And it sounds like that's where you were just like, it is so much noise and I'm contributing to the noise. And I don't even know what I'm getting for contributing to the noise. And yet most of us, despite all that, like so many people are probably going, yep, I feel that way too. And keep showing up out of the sphere of like the FOMO or the fear of being forgotten or whatever that is of like, I have to be there. I don't love it. I hear people say that a lot. You probably do too. I don't love it, but I have to be there. So where are you at now in combating those sorts of feelings and where you're choosing to show up? I mean, we connected through Threads. So it's not like you're not using online forums. So how are you making the decisions about where you show up and how you use your time online now?
It's really an ongoing experiment. And I was just this morning reflecting on how surprising it is to me that there are so many layers to this little experiment that I'm doing. I kind of thought, okay, I have awareness. I'm probably addicted to this. I need to take a step back and start to, notice where I'm like feeling that draw to hop online and start replacing my activities and routines with other things. And I kind of just thought that would be almost like a detox, right? Like, oh, just step by step and then I'll be a lot healthier. Well, I'm finding, like you said, there's a lot of other layers that I am like kind of unpacking. And I realized how depleted I had become. Even in my personal life, it kind of reverberated out when I take away those pieces and those distraction and the noise of being online and kind of performing, and I didn't think I was performing. I think I'm like a pretty authentic person. I'm kind of like what you see is what you get here or out in the world. But I realized I was contributing to the noise. And when I put all of that aside, what's in my real life? And what the answer was a lot of exhaustion, a lot of holding too much for other people and people that I love, my kids, even my family, my friends. It's really been a journey of understanding like this goes way deeper than just kind of reprogramming my habits. So I don't know if it's not probably the same for every person, but I'm somebody who was online with the AOL free hours CDs in the 90s. Like, so this is like a long standing process for me. And it was so much embedded into my lifestyle. So when I take that away, then what's there? So I would say I actually thought about it. Like I've been through 5 steps of it now. I'm on step 5, which is like the sitting with the discomfort of knowing how that contributed and then learning how to heal from it and rest, which is a weird place to be in because I just kind of thought, oh, I'll just jump into like now I'm in my regular community and where I live and I'm, doing different kinds of work and seeing new people, but it wasn't as black and white as that. And it's been revealing.
Well, I think you said something there that was huge, which is when I strip all this away, what's left and who am I? And I think not only the fear of being forgotten, the fear of missing out, I think if people can get really honest with themselves, and I think this is when we're speaking about addiction in all of its forms, that is probably one of those central questions. When I strip all this away, this thing that has been giving me that fix, that's allowing me to avoid something. What is it? What is it that I'm almost afraid of being with? And for you, that discomfort, talking about that discomfort of not having that constant dopamine injection, right? That we have now gotten so used to. I mean, it's so easy to access. You post something, you get likes, you feel the rush, right? You feel that like, I'm not alone in this world. People like me, whatever that thing is that you're trying to fill. So I think what you said there is really huge. So what did your sort of detoxing, because you obviously haven't gone cold turkey. You're not saying I'm giving up all technology or whatever. You're trying to figure out how do I exist with these things, but in a way that feels healthier. So you said sort of 5 steps. I don't know if that was actually 5 steps, but what did it start to look like for you when you started to strip away the stuff and have to sit in that quiet? Like, what did the process look like and how did you feel along the way?
Yeah. So the process is revealing itself to me. I didn't set out with like, first I'll do this, then I'll do this. It was kind of like very practical to start. So I deleted Threads is my big problem, my problem platform. I deleted it I didn't delete it. I deactivated my account, which felt like, what am I doing? That's like where I connect with people and I am visible and I know what's going on in the world. And I started to do that at the beginning of the year and I would go for a week at a time. Almost the first thing that I experienced was relief and kind of an excitement of like, oh, when this isn't here, what do I have room for? It was a few days after the initial deactivation that I started to get that kind of grinding, nagging, like, oh, I kind of want to go on. But I would take it in baby bites. I'd take it, see how long I could go. And I would usually go like for a week and I'd say, okay, I'm going to pop in on Sunday or, a little bit on the weekend. Usually I'm a big sports fan here in Buffalo. There's a Bills game. I want to connect with my Bills people. And so I would allow myself that. And I'd do it again for the next week. I also found out Threads will only let you do that once a week. So I learned as I was going. And so that practical part just became part of like the new practice of like changing the habit. And I really reached a few different milestones when I realized like, oh, there's something that happened in the world I want to talk about, but I had already deactivated for the week. And I made a choice to not get on. And that was when I knew I was growing very little at a time. But it was like a sense of pride for me. So that part started to get better. And I would kind of just play with how much I wanted to be online or not.
Can I ask you a quick question about that? So just because I don't want to miss that piece, when you would feel, so you've deactivated, something happens in the world, you feel the like pull that we all feel to be like, I got to go right to my phone and I need to say my part about this, or I got to contribute to the conversation. No one's asked me, but I, that thing we all feel. But you were like, oh, I've already deactivated it. I'm making a choice. What did you do with that energy? Because I think so many of us can relate to that feeling of that, like, And then it's like, if I don't release it, what do I do with it?
That is a great question. And I don't feel like I have a perfect answer for it. I think I played with.
You're figuring this out in real time, but I'm curious what's been happening for you. What are you noticing in your body?
If it was exactly how you described, I want to contribute to the conversation, whether anyone cares about it or not. And I'll tell you, because we happen to be talking about sports, the first time it happened to me, it wasn't a world activity. It was my Buffalo Bills football team fired their head coach, and I had deactivated an hour before, and I was like, I have so much to say. And it was almost painful for me to not talk about it. So that day, I listened to a lot of local sports radio. I talked to anyone I knew. I left my dad a message. I'm like, how else can I meet this need that I have to talk about this? But I also in that moment was like, why?
Yeah.
It got me curious about why do I have to comment on it even? Yes, it's important to me, but why do I feel this need to be in the conversation? What if no one ever knows what my thought is about this? It was such an exercise in curiosity about but why? And I made it through that week without getting on and contribute. So I missed the whole conversation, and I didn't realize what I thought FOMO, I joke about FOMO, but I didn't think oh, I don't need to. Well, I really almost physically felt like I needed to be in that conversation. And it started to make me examine why that is. And I think there's a big piece of it is a validation thing. And look, I'm also into astrology. I'm a Leo rising. I am in a band. I'm a lead singer in a band. I like to perform. I like to be out there. I'm not the person that's I don't even like doing this. I love it. So it's actually, I almost think it's more hard for somebody like me who enjoys it. And so yeah, it was looking for other outlets. Oh, you know what? I wrote a blog too. Yeah. I did. I wrote a blog.
Well, you found some, but that does sort of beg a question too. If I enjoy this, and I think that can be challenging for people because there is this feeling too of I enjoy it. So it's not a problem. It's not a bad thing if I enjoy that thing. So how are you tackling that question in your head of why is this something I'm feeling like I want less of in my life, even though I actually do kind of enjoy it?
Well, that's what lets me be less black and white about it. And like you said, I'm still there. I'm not cold turkey living in the forest somewhere, off the grid. That's not really my desire. My desire is rooted in one thing right now, and that's to feel better. Because I was feeling pretty down, pretty depressed, pretty stuck and stagnant. And I really felt that this was not helping. I think it was contributing to it. And so whenever I have a moment where I'm I just want to zone out. And believe me, I've allowed myself, you know what? It's been a long week. Friday night, I am literally going to give I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to start my scroll. And it's almost like a little dirty little treat that I'm having. But it's not. I think this is part of the world. I never want to not be informed. I never want to be ignorant of what's going on or not participating in the things that I value and know that especially at this moment in history are so important. But I also want to focus on, but how am I going to feel when I'm done doing that? So it has allowed me to kind of play with what do I need this week? What do I need today? Or maybe I don't need it today, or it wouldn't be a great decision for me to sit online today. What else can I do that does make me feel good? So I'm kind of just returning back to that, how do I feel? And that's really what sparked this whole thing, is that I just want to feel better and appreciate my daily life more, because I was starting to get to a place where I was just really numbing out with this addiction, and it was constantly giving me input. And that's, I think, how many of us, most of society truly is programmed now, because whether it's social media, a podcast, TV, anything that's just I need to learn more. I need to hear other people tell me what they think. And we are so uncomfortable now with silence,
Well,
and so
we've become such consumers that we've lost how to become creators, right? We're not creating, unless we are creating for monetization or part of the consumption machine, but we haven't learned how to create for the joy of creation. We've forgotten that in this consuming. So yeah. And creating a blog post is certainly creation. And I think if you're doing it for that, it's great. It's when we start to do it because we think, okay, now I need to do this because then I have to show up and I'm adding to the noise versus I'm doing this for me.
I'd also like to mention that my job is marketing and branding. So visibility and messaging is my bread and butter. And so I'm also exploring at the same time for myself and the people that I work with, how does this play a role? Because let's be real, we are living in a digital world, and that is an avenue for people to get their word out and to get their business out there and to connect with an audience. So I am really exploring, like, how do these two things intersect in a way that's healthier?
Yeah.
So that's an ongoing process for me.
Well, you mentioned earlier about something about values. I heard you say like you want to do things you value. And you mentioned in the intake form too that one of your values is freedom. And so as I hear you talking about some of these things, that balance of what I like showing up, I like attention, I like those things, and this isn't feeling good. And I wonder if some of that tension is around that key piece of you valuing freedom and how much of that was feeling like free will versus you feel like you're doing it out of free will, but the truth is it's become just habitual, addictive. It's not about you. And by design, like manipulative programming that has been made to make you sort of think you're doing it out of free will, but actually it's out of pure addiction. You know what I mean?
Totally. And that's been a big piece of this for me, is like when I stepped back from being on these platforms all the time, I was like, not only did I realize I was part of it, like I was contributing to it, but also realizing the good people, the bad people, all the people, we're all in this system. And we are, I feel like such like a doomsdayer or something, but like we are being controlled by the news cycles and by the infighting with each other on these things. And it's like, wow, I didn't realize how bad it was until I stepped back. And I am not somebody who is trying to be like, that's a narrative that is being given to us. I don't want it. I opt out of that. So it kind of gave me the space to see, like, it's not just about, I do enjoy it or whatever, but like, I want to take my power back. And that's what I hope, anytime I talk about it, I hope other people can kind of think like, oh, like have that moment of like, oh, I wonder like how this is really affecting me and like, how am I playing my part here?
Yeah, taking the power back feels so important because, again, it goes from, am I doing this because I actually want to in this moment, or because I've been sort of manipulated into thinking I want to in this moment? Because how much am I
Right.
getting from it? And that sounds like the biggest thing you realized is it's gone from where I used to actually feel like I was getting as much as I was giving, that reciprocity part, to now it feels like I'm getting not nearly as much as I feel like I'm giving. And that doesn't feel reciprocal at all. And so I can understand that wanting to return. I mean, humans have been in reciprocal relationships since humanity has begun, right? So that is a beautiful thing. It's losing sight of that becomes the problem.
That's right. Yeah. And I think that, no, you said it. I was going to add something. You
Well,
summed
and
it up.
so you said that now you're at the place of sitting in the discomfort and that
Mhm.
is a challenging space to be. So I'm assuming the discomfort is the place of knowing that you want to be spending less of your time in a lot of these spaces and sort of dealing with that itch as it comes up to do it and channeling it into new things. So is that what the discomfort is, or is there other discomfort that's come up?
I think that it's really been it's been multifaceted in ways that I didn't know. Like we just talked about, realizing that I'm kind of part of the problem and I'm probably being controlled, and also like fighting with this tension of like, but I want to be there and I still want people to know I'm around and what I believe in and that I do have a business, and it's a lot of conflicting things that are making me uncomfortable. And then even looking forward at like, so what's the next step then? Not just finding a healthier way to participate in a digital world, but also what do I fill it with? And I thought that would be a lot easier to figure out. I have things I'm interested in. I have a few hobbies. I also have kids. I'm a busy person, but I've started to like realize like being busy is not the same as being fulfilled. And so I'm kind of trying to like really relearn like, what do I enjoy actually? What brings me pleasure and what is the best use of my time and energy? Because feeling like realizing I have this depletion of energy has made me curious about how can I better use my energy. I should also mention that I am returning to a traditional day job at the end of May, which is it's not even a thing I was setting out to do. A lot of it is financial stability, which has also contributed to that depletion and exhaustion that I felt. But that's a whole different world of, people and wearing pants and all those things. But in a way, like I almost feel like it's perfect timing because I need something different now. I
Yeah.
need in this chapter, I love my business. It will always be there. I plan to return to it full time at one day, but it's time for me to just change it all up and just start to find out what I like again and meet some new people and just kind of shift it all at once. So, it feels like the end of an era, and for me anyways.
Well, and you mentioned something, I can't remember exactly what your reference point was, but something like, puzzles don't give you the same dopamine hit as being online. Might not have been puzzles, but, hobbies are not always that same sort of dopamine rush. So it can be challenging as you're starting to let go and do this exploration of what is it that I actually enjoy and getting a bit muddled about the confusing body messages you're getting because maybe it's not giving you the same hit as you were getting with social media, but that doesn't mean it's not a good thing or something you might actually enjoy. So I'm curious, like, what are the things that you're starting to discover or rediscover that are kind of analog ways of showing up? And what are they giving you, or what are you noticing as far as how they compare in that dopamine hit?
Yeah. Part of the early parts of this process for me were acknowledging that I was addicted to the dopamine of the immediacy of being online, and that it would feel different. I tried to prepare myself for that. Like, it will feel different, and that doesn't mean it's bad. I have to kind of unlearn what it means to always be looking for that dopamine, because that's really what's keeping me online. That's what's keeping me online. And so, it has been it's been uncomfortable. There are times I'm like, am I bored? Am I depressed? Or is this just like normal of like somebody coming down from a dopamine addiction? I have a therapist. She's wonderful. So like we've worked a little bit through that. But I do think it's like regulating your system to not needing and expecting that all the time. It makes me think of like when they train an animal to do something where they like put the tree down. And so now there's no tree. And I still have to go do the thing. And it's like, it's fun, but like I ultimately want to live a more peaceful, nervous system regulated life. So I have to kind of keep reminding myself, like, it's okay to feel this way. It's normal to kind of be coming down from this lifestyle that I've lived for so long. And so, of course, there's things I like to do. I like to ride my bike. I like to go for walks. I love music. I've thought about taking up an instrument again. And I have this conversation with myself, fun for the sake of having fun, because I know, I can't speak for everyone. I'm pretty sure many people are like this, but I know I've forgotten how to do something without some kind of goal in mind or without a purpose. We're all like, oh, how can I monetize this? Like, what if I just played the flute because I have muscle memory from when I was 10 years old and it's fun? Like, it's like a weird thing to be like,
it's bad.
yeah,
And you have to,
like, my body's like, but then what? It's like,
right.
well, there is no end. Like, you just do it. And so it feels
what I'm talking about with creativity. We've lost as humans our interest, our ability to just create or just do, like you said, just do things because they're interesting, because it feels nice, because we're curious, because it does feel like everything has to have some bigger purpose to make us money or to solve a big problem for other people or whatever it is. We can't just do it, or even just for us to be the best at it. Right? What if you play the flute and you're never good, but you just enjoy it?
But I mean, like, do you have something like that? Because I love to hear other people's perspective on this, because I know not everybody was so embedded in this world like I was. But do you
I think
find
a lot
that?
of us are.
Yeah. Like, I mean, even the idea of your podcast, like
Mm-hmm.
going and doing more analog type activities, it's foreign to us, and it's completely foreign to the younger generations who have never even really experienced that.
And interestingly, and you said you have kids, I don't know the age of yours, but I have a Gen Alpha, right?
Yes,
Yeah, Gen
same
Alpha.
too. I got two.
Yeah. And I've noticed, my kid loves video games. He watches YouTube videos, all that kind of stuff. He's also very skeptical of AI, not very interested in a lot of it. He has a lot of questions about things. He still loves to pick up a book and read. He likes to get on his bike and go with his friends and play. I feel like there's almost a degree of it because it isn't new. There's not the novelty. It's just like, this has always been there. I've seen screens since I was born, literally. Like, it feels like a choice in a way that for us, maybe it's felt less like a choice. I don't know. It's very interesting to watch. I'm curious to see what they do. just quickly too, you mentioned like Pavlov's dogs and the training and all that. And I almost think it's worse than like the training has stopped. It is almost like now they're torturing you because the treat is there. You know how to get the treat, right? Like you're like, oh, I could get on my phone and put the thing back on and I could get the treat. It's there, real easy to get. The problem is I'll have to step in a big pile of shit to get to it, right? Or on the way back or something, right? Like now that you've pulled back this curtain for yourself, you've seen the reality of it is like there's the hit that hit comes with a big pile of shit. And it's trying to now navigate worth the pile of shit to get the hit, right? And I think that's where a lot of people are at after 2020 and COVID and, all those years. I feel like people are now kind of getting to that same place of, is it worth it? Is it worth it for those temporary highs? And yet we're also addicted. We still are chasing them. One of the things you had mentioned and why I thought it was interesting to talk with you too is just this feeling of, like you said, you're feeling almost like I'm having to relearn how to be a person, how to be social, how to integrate, how to like be offline. And I think, first of all, it's brave of you to say, because I think some people would be like, they might, that eye roll of like, well, we're all human, whatever. But I think the truth is for people who have made this sort of conscious choice to say, I'm going to spend less time online. I'm going to really be thoughtful about how I'm spending my time. That's a reality. We have been doing this so long that we have forgotten what it looks like to make a friend, to go and show up at something where you don't know anyone, to like try something scary and new. We've forgotten a lot of those skills. So how are you feeling with all of that?
It's vulnerable. And I have this is one of the things I've kind of tried to think about it. Like, if I'm not getting my dopamine hit from this manufactured kind of online internet world, what does it feel like you said, to do the scary thing, to do the thing that's like, oh my God, I don't know anybody there. Like, how can that be exciting? And like, take the fear and turn it into excitement. So I am fortunate where I think that by nature, I don't want to say I'm like an extrovert. I wouldn't go that far. I'm a homebody. I work from home. I like to be home, and I don't have much of a social life as a mom of a 6 and a 10-year-old, but I want one. I want to have more for myself, right? As my kids are getting older, I want to reclaim that part. So I have that desire is there. And I think that it's easier for me because I have that. I still feel the discomfort and the awkwardness. Like, I pushed myself to try to go to like a networking event only with cool people though, not like, you got to find what works for you. I want to be out there, but I've also seen like how some people are really struggling with it, having a conversation or, I tell my husband and he's, I think worse off than I am because he's not from where we live. Like, you should just go out, like just go and like go sit at a bar and talk to the bartender. And he's like, oh, are you crazy? Like, and that's a guy. Like, I don't know. I feel like we're all so like nervous about talking to each other. And like, what if they don't share my values and political beliefs? Like, there's a lot of fear around it. But I think once you do start to do it, not only do you kind of get that dopamine of excitement again, that maybe like for me had just fallen flat. Like I just wasn't experiencing it at all. Whenever I'm around cool people, I feel alive again. And that is what keeps me coming back. And so even going into this new job where truthfully, I was never a corporate. I mean, I spent 15 years in corporate. It did not serve me. Once I started my own business, I was like, oh my God, this is me. Like, why did I make myself feel bad for wanting to do this a different way? So I'm about to go back into this setting and I'm scared. Like, I'm legit scared. And I decided it this week. I'm like, I'm just going to go and have fun. Like, who says that about going to work? I know there's going to be challenges. I know there's going to be things I don't want to commute again. Like, there's things I'm not going to enjoy about it, but mostly I'm just like really ready to just like, what can be fun about it? I want to have some fun and meet some people, period. Please also give me the paycheck.
It goes back to that freedom though, I think, Lindsay, of it's about agency. And I think too often when we are fresh out of college and we get our first corporate job, we feel so beholden to them. We feel like they gave us this job. I see people, when I talk to people now going into interviews, I always say, remember, you're interviewing them. You're interviewing them. It's not just them interviewing you. They need to prove to you this is a job that you should want. And I think that is something that we don't have at that younger age. So many of us go into corporate, we hate it, but we feel like we have no agency. And so we end up like burning ourselves out and then eventually finding that we want to work for ourselves. But I think the difference now is you're going back with this realization, I'll be okay. if this doesn't work out, I'm going to be able to, I can take care of myself. I don't need them. I might want the job, but I don't need them. Right. So like, I think
Yeah.
that's really nice. That feels like freedom.
It does feel like freedom. And I have a belief, and I hope that it's met at some point, that by doing this, by relieving myself of being able to provide the basic needs, because I'll finally have this secure and steady paycheck that has been a roller coaster through the 5 years of my business, that will give me actually more space to find my creativity again and to be able to figure out what I like again, because I'm not going to be doing the worry and the hustle and I love the hustle. Like, I love my business so much, so much, but I'm excited to see what is it like when I'm resourced and I'm not like living in this state of like, oh no, oh my God, all the time. And I'm choosing to look at it like that, ultimately for freedom.
Yeah. And that is the value of yours. And I think it's a great value. And that is what this is all about is, I mean, I think at the heart of so much of what I want this podcast to be about and what your story is about is agency. It's about being conscious. I think we have just gone on such an autopilot with technology that we aren't conscious and making like informed, body filled, body driven, aligned choices. We are just sort of, going through the motions every day. And finding your agency and then it's about what actually does serve me here. What is feeling good? Maybe Threads does feel good sometimes, right? Getting those limited doses of that, having that place you get to go and speak and, feel like you have a platform, but then also not feeling like you're having to do it every second, even when it's not feeling good. So I hope that serves for people. My hope with this conversation is for people who are in a similar who say, yeah, I've been feeling that tension and I'm also really scared. Because that's what I hear a lot of people say. I don't want to be using these tools so much, but also I'm really afraid to not be there. I feel like I have to be. And just knowing, like, I think your story honors that it isn't easy, right? So for people who are in that place, I think a good place for us to wrap up is, what would you tell them?
It's imperfect. And it's a kind of a try it as you go and tweak as you go. And just so cliche, but like, give yourself grace and compassion, because really we have been programmed by forces beyond what we think about every day, whether it's billionaires or, algorithms or whatever. It's like kind of going on an uphill journey, but the benefits along the way are what's keeping me in it. And I do think that you will see whoever is going through this process, they will get those little milestones and think like, oh, wow, I actually didn't think at all about my favorite social media platform when I woke up this morning. That's a major win. And so just kind of gathering those small wins along the way. And then also, like you mentioned, whether it's personal or for your business, I'm really going back to looking at these like, this is a tool. Period. It's not a lifestyle. It's not like I have to perform and capture B-roll of my whole day. Like, if we can start to reconnect to the idea that these are just tools and they can help you get your message out. They can help your business. They can keep you informed, and leave it at that. I think we can all have a little bit more balance in our lives.
As somebody who has always bristled at the idea of needing to find B-roll, thank you and hallelujah. I'm always like, no, I can't. There's no B-roll in my life. My B-roll is like, it's me sitting on the couch. It's not exciting. Anyway, and then the pressure to make it look good. Thank you, Lindsay. If people only did one thing this week from what you've talked about, what do you think would be the most helpful place for them to start?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think it's different for everyone depending on what they're struggling with. I would say if you're someone who's on social media a lot, don't deactivate it. Just delete it from your phone for a day. See what it feels like. Just play with it. It's kind of like, just be playful with it if you can. And just take it less seriously.
Awesome. And Lindsay, where can people find you? Tell them about your podcast. I know that you're going, your business is changing a bit. So what do you want people to know?
Well, you can find me at lindsayhyatt.com. It's Hyatt like the hotel, unfortunately not the hotel. But I'll still be going in my business. I won't be taking on client work, but I still do a lot of mentorship in my community and with small business owners. So you can find all that at lindsayhyatt.com. My podcast is called Reprogramming because I have for a long time known that there's just a lot of areas of our lives that maybe deserve a little reprogramming and just kind of thinking differently about how we live and work. So that's like my work. And I also will just plug real quick. I do have a guide. It's called the Get TF Offline Guide. So if you are somebody who has been using it for your business and you just feel like it's not even working, this might be a place to start. And I have two paths, whether you have no offline connections at all and are starting fresh, or you do. I have two paths that you can get
Perfect.
started on.
I will drop all of that in the show notes. And thank you so much, Lindsay, for doing this and for finding your humanity again. I hope you're feeling more human.
I am, Becky. Thank you so much for having me. And this, I could talk about this all day. So thank you for letting me do it on your podcast. I'm honored.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Thanks for listening to Analogish. This episode is over, but the world is still out there. Go find it.